Welcome to Book Hub. Today let us listen to the third and final episode of The Scarlet Pimpernel. The links to the other episodes are added to the description. Lady Blakeney goes to see Sir Andrew, a friend of the Pimpernel, and reveals the trap that she has unwittingly betrayed Percy, who she knows to be the Pimpernel, and he is now on his way into the hands of Chauvelin at Calais. Though Andrew tries to convince Lady Blakeney to leave affairs in his hands, she insists on going with him. They plot to meet that night in Dover to sail for Calais the next day. Andrew arrives and tells Lady Blakeney that no one will sail from Dover that night because of the strong storm. Andrew suggests just killing Chauvelin in order to end the matter, but Lady Blakeney tells him that the penalties for capture of murderers is too high a price to pay. They spend the night at the pub, waiting for the storm to pass. The side effect of the storm is that Chauvelin no longer has his head start on Lady Blakeney and the Englishman. Indeed, now when the storm passes, she will have the upper hand, provided she can find Percy before he runs into Chauvelin. Moreover, should Chauvelin see her there, he would suspect her involvement in aiding Percy and the other fugitives from France. The next day they sail to Calais, where they go to the Chat Gris, a small pub, and discover that the master of the inn, named Brogard, expects Percy to return that evening for supper. Lady Blakeney is overjoyed, but realizes that now they are on French soil, if Percy were to be apprehended, his fate would quickly be sealed. At the same time, Andrew reminds Lady Blakeney why Percy came to Calais, namely to free the Count de Tournay, as well as her brother. Lady Blakeney realizes that there is no way that Percy would leave without the fugitives, and she grants that Andrew must find Percy and warn him about Chauvelin's hunt. Meanwhile, Lady Blakeney will hide in the Chat Gris should Percy return for supper, but Andrew instructs her not to reveal herself to him. Marguerite waits at the inn for Percy and soon enough a man arrives. But it is Chauvelin. She listens as Chauvelin instructs his henchman, Degas, to return with 6 soldiers and ambush Percy the moment he walks into the pub. But he says that he wants Percy alive, if possible. Degas leaves, and Chauvelin waits for him to return. Lady Blakeney is horrified at the obvious danger her husband faces. She sees that despite his heroism, her husband will be no match for Chauvelin's soldiers. Thus Lady Blakeney waits in despair, and indeed, soon enough, she hears Percy's voice outside singing lustily as he approaches. The meeting between Chauvelin and Percy is understandably awkward, and Chauvelin realizes he needs time before Degas returns with the men to arrest Blakeney. Meanwhile, Lady Blakeney watches from the stairwell, horrified. Percy, nonplussed, eats his dinner, and asks Chauvelin trivial questions. The Frenchman gets ever more eager for his henchman to arrive. Percy innocently asks Chauvelin if he would like to inhale a top-notch brand of snuff he acquired from abroad. Chauvelin falls for the trap, ends up inhaling pepper, and Percy calmly leaves the room as Chauvelin struggles, just before the soldiers arrive. The soldiers tell Chauvelin that they found out Percy had talked to a Jew named Reuben about borrowing his horse and cart later that night to go down the St. Martin Road. Chauvelin demands that they find Reuben, but they can't find him and instead bring a fellow old Jew who claims to be a friend of his. The Jew says that he can lend the soldiers his horse and cart and they will go to Père Blanchard's hut, where Percy is supposed to end his ride on Reuben's horse. The Jew claims that the horse that Percy took is a miserable nag who can't move at more than a snail's pace. Since the Jew claims his horse is faster than Reuben's, he said Chauvelin will either catch up with Percy or get to the Père Blanchard hut before Percy gets there. Chauvelin decides to trust the Jew, but makes a very clear deal. If they catch up with Percy, he will offer the Jew a monetary reward. But if they do not, he will make sure that the Jew is beaten mercilessly, even to death. The arrangement is confirmed and the Jew provides his nag to help the soldiers catch up with Percy. Lady Blakeney leaves her hiding spot and eavesdrops as soldiers tell Chauvelin that Percy has not been found along the road to Père Blanchard's hut. Chauvelin tells them not to attack Percy until they find the other fugitives that he is rescuing as well. All of them arrive at the hut, and Chauvelin decides to take the old Jew with him so that he doesn't make noise, and mistakenly warn the Scarlet Pimpernel that he is walking into a trap. When the light of the moon illuminates the area around the hut, Lady Blakeney sees Percy's ship anchored beneath the cliffs. Realizing that Percy is here, about to walk into the trap, she runs towards Pere Blanchard's hut to warn the people inside, but she's captured by Chauvelin. Lady Blakeney comes to, realizing she is outside the hut with Chauvelin and his soldiers just as they are waiting to ambush those waiting inside. Chauvelin tells her that she must remain silent if she wants her brother to remain alive. Lady Blakeney doesn't know what to do, whether to save her brother or Percy, but just then she hears Percy's voice singing, "God Save the King," out in the distance. Lady Blakeney cannot stay silent and screams. She runs to the hut and shouts for those inside to save themselves. The soldiers grab her, run into the hut, but it is empty. By following Chauvelin's strict orders to stand guard outside, waiting for Percy before doing anything with the fugitives, they unwittingly let the fugitives free. Chauvelin promises his henchmen that they will die for their mistake, but they let Chauvelin know that they didn't go after the escaping fugitives in deference to his orders. But suddenly down below the cliffs, they hear gunfire from the anchored boat. The fugitives have escaped onto the boat, and it sets sail for England. Chauvelin despairs momentarily before he realizes that he heard Percy's singing, and that Percy must still be in the vicinity. He finds a letter in the hut that tells the fugitives to go without him as he'll be near a creek outside the Chat Gris. Chauvelin sends his soldiers to find Percy, but before he leaves, realizes that the Jew has been left unpunished. He tells his soldiers to bring the Jew. He tells the Jew that the deal they made was clear, and that not only did his horse fail to overtake Percy's, but that now even the fugitives have gone free. He orders his soldiers to beat the Jew mercilessly, which they do while Chauvelin watches and Marguerite lays unconscious. Later, Marguerite awakes to hear the beaten Jew cursing, in a clearly British accent. She runs to him to find that the Jew is indeed Percy in disguise. She frees him, they rejoice over his cunning, impenetrable scheme, and indeed, as the final part of his plan, Sir Andrew arrives, having followed his orders, to take them both to the returning boat, which soon sets sail for their home in England. The novel ends with the resolution of both plot strands, the reconciliation of husband and wife and the restoration of confidence between them, and the freedom of the remaining fugitives from the terror of the French revolutionary masses. Thanks for listening to us. Please like, share and subscribe our content to bring more to your doorsteps.